Super fun. Welcome, everyone. Let's start dancing here. Okay, Grace, thank you for sharing your story, a little bit of it, and talking about life change. It's been cool to see. Grace started as a freshman at UW-Madison, and she's been going to CAM, and she just graduated, and it's been cool to actually be able to see what someone's talking about. So thanks for being able to share that. Now, if I haven't had the chance to meet you, my name is Michael, and I'm the pastor of this community, Blackhawk Church's college-age community. And whether you're returning or you're here for the first time, we just want to honestly say welcome. We're just so glad that you're here. We call it college-age ministry intentionally because we kind of say, anywhere around 18 to 25, no matter what stage of life you're in that age, you're welcome here. We not only want to welcome you here, but we want you to feel like this is a home away from home, wherever you're at. And wherever you're at in your spiritual journey, we aren't claiming to be perfect people or have it all together. And we also know that this is a place where people don't even know Jesus and who are curious. We want you to be able to say, man, there's something different here. Change has happened in people's lives, and I want to be a part of that. So we just, again, want to welcome you here. I've been here for next month, or really at the end of this month, year 5, people. Year 5 in Madison. Thank you. Thank you. I've survived winters. I'm here. I'm originally from the West Coast, so that is winters, surviving that. It's a big deal for me. No, but we are talking about life change today. And since a lot of you might not know me, I actually want to quickly say a little bit about my story and the different decisions that I've made and the different changes that have happened in my life because of those decisions, to see where I got from today. So you're not just okay, who's this random guy who got really excited about the Bible? That's kind of weird. So I grew up in Northwest Washington State, just north of Seattle, in a city called Linwood, and then we moved to Stanwood. Really, the only criteria was that the last part of the word had wood in it, and we were just sold out for it. There were 6 people in my family, 4 siblings, and right before everyone was starting to go to college, I was a senior. I was like, do I go to college? Because no one in my family had ever gone to college before, so I was really confused. I'm like, do we go to college? And my family's like, if you want to go to college, go ahead, but we didn't. And so I was really thinking, should I go to college? And then I made the decision, well, I kind of want to go to college. So I went to college, and I got accepted to a college called Whitworth University in Spokane, Washington. I got a bachelor in music with a vocal emphasis, which I use that much now. So if you're really, really concerned about what you're studying, how it's going to impact your life, it probably will impact your life, but music major. So, but yay music majors, it's awesome, you're rad. And then, so after that, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I was not the person who had a big plan, and so I literally graduated. I didn't know what to do, so I went to Africa for 2 months, because I'm I don't know, let's figure out if I should move somewhere else outside of the United States. I was there for 2 months, kind of doing mission work, and then I still didn't know what to do, so I did a solo backpacking trip to Europe by myself. This was before the movie Taken, so I was not afraid. And then when I was there, I thought, okay, I literally have no plans. I need to make a decision. I thought about it, I prayed about it, and I thought, I want to go to more school because I just want to punish myself. And I decided that I wanted to be a pastor. So I made another life change and went to a school called Fuller Theological Seminary in Southern California, because really I just wanted to surf and read the Bible. Honestly, that's it. That's really why I did. And I'm a terrible surfer, so turns out. But I got my Master's of Divinity. It was really, really awesome and really, really hard. I most of the time wore glasses just because I stared at a screen. I would go to the second basement library, where people don't socialize. I lived there. Not really, only when finals were happening. But so that was a big life change. I got my Master's of Divinity, and then I thought, I need a real person job now, an adult job. That's what I was calling it. Everyone who has a job, you have a real person job. So I started applying, and I got accepted to work at a church called Menlo Church in the Silicon Valley. It's a lot like Blackhawk. I was a college-age pastor there for 6 years, and then I thought, man, let's do one more life change. Let's leave this Sunshine State. I'm done with the sun. I'm going to Wisconsin. because I want to freeze. My friends in California are like, what are you doing? I'm like, trust me, I know. Literally, it was 2018, the polar vortex hit. Like 2 months later, it was awesome. I didn't know that weather could actually kill you in 5 minutes from being outside. So I did a lot of life change. People said that I had a cheese curd for the first time. Still don't know what that means. I still don't trust walking on frozen water, like on a lake. No, thank you. That's a trick. You guys are trying to trick me. I will not do that. So I had a lot of life changes. And throughout all of these life changes, there was one thing that was actually constant, okay? One thing through all these changes that I thought, okay, this is something that I can trust because it's always going to be there. It's change, which is kind of sad and kind of funny, but it's kind of true. Change happens to us all the time. In fact, you're in this room right now, you're in this seat because you've made different decisions in your life and you've wanted your life to change. Some of you are in school right now, UW-Madison. That's awesome. Edgewood. Some of you are at Madison. I only say Menlo College because I worked by Menlo. Madison College. That's what I mean. The M's. It gets hard. Some of you are, somewhere in between, an internship. Maybe you're working. That's awesome. College-age ministry. You've made different decisions to place you here because life is full of decisions which result in life change. We can see that all throughout the Bible, and we can see that all throughout our lives. Change. That's the constant. So we want to talk about life change. And we want to talk about it because Jesus actually talks about life change. In Luke 15, he talks about the different changes that we can make, the different decisions that we can make. Because these decisions actually have the power to affect if we're going into new life, kind of like what Grace was saying, a good life, or a life that feels kind of diminished. It can be hard. Jesus talks about this. And so I want to talk about this because right now, this is September, which is nuts. But so many changes are going to happen in our life, in your life. And I want us to talk about it as a community. So if you have your Bibles, go ahead and open up to Luke 15. I never have my Bible, so we're going to have it on the screen, so you're good if you don't have it. If you have your Bible, you're awesome. Or if it's on your phone, you're awesome. If you don't, you're awesome. We're all awesome. Okay, this is the parable of the prodigal son or lost son that Jesus was giving. So we're going to kind of go in chunks. So this is the first chunk. Jesus was saying, there was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, "Father, give me my share of the estate." So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. Okay, we're going to stop there. So kind of at this point, let's throw all the different connotations or ideas or knowledge that we have about what's going on. And I just want to talk about the reality that the son wanted change, okay? I'm just neutrally, we can even call it good just for this right now. The son grew up in his father's estate. We can kind of know through context as a noble father, an estate, wealthy status. And the son was like, I want to leave. I think there's something better out there for me. I want to change. So he got his inheritance and he left. And probably in more of a positive way, a lot of us here are here today because we thought, I want life change. I want something to be different. If you're living at your home right now, you're smart because it's expensive out there. Some of you aren't, and that's also awesome because everyone's awesome today. But we make these decisions and we go places because we know that there's something else out there. We know that there's new life. We want the next thing, and that's really, really, really good. So we make decisions which result in change. And whenever that happens, we open ourselves up to this season of new, right? How many of you are in a season of new right now? Yeah, a lot of us. You're like, what am I doing? This is new. New community, new campus, new job, new internship, new class, new people, new culture, new climate, new. We enter into these seasons of new. We leave the old behind because we want to experience life in a new way. And while this can be really, 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 really good, Jesus is also saying that you need to be really, 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 really intentional. Intentional about the decisions that you're going to make. Because a new way, if we're not intentional, isn't always the best way. Jesus continued. He said, after he spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. Okay, let's stop right there, and I actually want to contextually break down what's kind of theologically happening in this passage. So the Jewish audience listening to Jesus right now say this parable, they would be picking up on all of the things that I'm about to say and probably a lot more. So this son, it was actually not a good thing that he left. When we leave, good thing, probably. When the son left, this wasn't a good thing because he was saying, like, I'm done with you. Give me your inheritance. And in that culture, that didn't happen. You receive your inheritance when the father dies. The sons usually receive it, and when the father dies, kind of like a will, then you get it. For the son to say, give me the inheritance, that's the equivalent of saying, you're dead to me. Wow, you're dead to me. Like, whoa, I'm not a dad, but if I'm a dad and my son said that, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's the worst thing ever. You're dead to me. And literally, the father didn't have to give him the inheritance. He could have said, get out. You're done. Get out. But the father gave him the inheritance. He took it and he left to a far, far away place, and he spent all that money in this new life that he wanted. You see, he had this idea of what could be good for him, what would be the best way of living, and it wasn't in his father's house. It was somewhere else. So he went. He made the decision to go, and he got it. I mean, he got the new life that he wanted. He was living it, but he soon learned that it wasn't all that it cracked up to be, because he squandered everything, not in good things, on not good things. And he was without food and money, and a famine happened, and especially back then, like, you were really dependent on the land. He had nothing. The new life that he wanted was not what it was cracked up to be. Because sometimes things that we think are good for us, things that we're like, I think this is actually a good direction to move towards, I think this is a good thing, sometimes they're not that good for us, right? Okay, so I want to actually let you all in on something. It's kind of a personal story. For those of you who are new, you're not going to know what I'm going to say. For those of you who are not new, you're not going to know what I'm going to say. Like, even some of my close friends here, you're like, what are you going to talk about? This is something that's actually personal, so I'm being vulnerable, okay? Look at me, vulnerability, this is good. First day, you're like, I need to leave. No, but I want to share with you what is probably, I would say probably my first love, okay? I want to share probably my first love, but I want to share it with you because my first love ended up not loving me back, which is a bummer, right? It's a bummer, but I want to share this with you because if it ever happens to you, like, you're warned, okay? This is your warning. I want to tell you the story of my first love. Actually, I want to do better. I want to show you the story of my first love because I actually this is crazy. I invited my first love here. So, oh no, this is weird. We haven't talked in a long time. So, my first love, Jack in the Box. I'm not joking. Y'all know what Jack in the Box is? It's kind of a West Coast thing. Think like Burger King's, like, kind of cousin, or like Culver's second cousin who isn't that cool but wants to be cool. I know, but I love you, Jack in the Box. I'm not saying that you're not cool. So, Jack in the Box, thanks for being here. I know we haven't talked in a long time. It's kind of crazy that I know you're probably a little shy right now. You were always shy, but I'm glad that you're here. And man, remember when I was 17? Like, yeah, we were on a choir tour with my high school. I know we were rambunctious. I know we came to your store. We were so hungry. I just wanted a milkshake, strawberry milkshake. It was so hot outside. But I had to work up the courage to talk to you, and that was just so vulnerable to me. But I did. And then I got a milkshake. And remember what you did to me? You poisoned me. That was the first time I knew to not trust you, Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box poisoned me, and I'll save you the details, but if you've ever gotten food poisoning, like the bad kind of food poisoning, the couple days in your system kind of food poisoning, the did I actually die? No, I'm still awake, and Netflix is saying, are you still awake? Kind of food poisoning, that's what I had. And I knew that I shouldn't have trusted Jack in the Box. But you see, a couple months later, I was driving, and I really wanted a sausage egg breakfast sandwich. And I'm like, I'm gonna go to McDonald's because I know what you've done to me, Jack in the Box. I'm driving to McDonald's, but then I see this beautiful Jack sign, and I thought, you know what, I've changed. I have done work. I know that Jack in the Box has done work. So I pulled in. Just every time you go back, you just feel a little nervous again, and you're like, what do I say? How do I order? So I ordered the sausage sandwich, and I'm like, oh yeah, you've changed. Poison. Absolute poison. I trusted you. And I knew, I'm like, I am done. There is no way. And then I was in college. And it was a hot day. We were playing Frisbee outside, and my friends were like, let's go to Jack in the Box. And I'm like, no. And they're like, come on, Michael, you don't have to get anything. So I'm like outside of the door being like, do I go in? I don't even know. And like, what am I going to say? I go in, and we sit, I order, I work up the courage. I'm more confident. I'm like, this is where I stand. Where do you stand? Like, we've been through a lot. And they're like, try my chocolate shake, Michael. You've tried these other things. And I tried the chocolate shake, and I'm like, oh, maybe you have changed. Maybe you vomit. It was the worst one, and I learned to never trust. I don't even know if I can do this anymore. I have to put Jack in the Box away. So, no, Jack in the Box was my first love. That was really hard for me, but in all seriousness, well, that was actually kind of serious because all of that was very true, except for the romantic part. That would be really weird if I actually had a romantic thing with Jack in the Box. It kind of teetered the line. But but in all seriousness, we all have gone to things that we know probably isn't the best decision for us, right? It probably isn't the best thing for our lives, but we think, nah, everyone else is doing it. I can do it. I mean, what's so wrong? I can make this decision. And we end up making this decision, and we think that everything's going to go great, but guess what happens? Often it doesn't. In different ways and in different contexts and different outcomes that can happen. And that's exactly what Jesus was saying in the parable of the lost son, of the prodigal son. You see, the son knew that going away from his father was not the right decision, but he said, I get to call the shots. I know what's right. I know the direction that I want my life to go, and I'm going to go in that direction. Give me money, I'm gone. And then what happened? Oh yeah, he got that life change. His life did change. But it changed by resulting in him hitting the rock bottom. And Jesus is saying that we need to be careful. We need to be careful about the decisions that we make. Jesus isn't out there saying that if you make the wrong decisions, I'm going to come down on you hardcore. No, Jesus is saying if you make the wrong decisions, and when you go down hardcore, I'm going to be there to pick you up. But you see, I don't want you to go there. I want to save you from that. But far too often, we go there. But we have to learn the discernment, okay, what's a good decision and what's a bad decision? The Bible's full of different examples of what could be good or what could be bad, but there's often areas that it could seem a little gray. Listen, there's going to be so many parties out there that you're going to be invited to. There's going to be so many friendships that people are going to want to make with you. There's going to be so many different relationships that you can just enter into. There's going to be so many different ways that you can spend your money, time, resources, your efforts in. And it might not be all bad or all good, but there's a scale that you have to say, do I want my life to go that way? Or do I want my life to go that way? And you are the one that's responsible for that. Because when we make the decisions, typically we are the ones that live with it. And Jesus is saying, be careful. Know that. The prodigal son was at rock bottom. But here's where things change for him. Because he doesn't want to stay there. He makes a decision to change. This is the rest of the parable of the lost son right here. When he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have food to spare? And here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and a sandal on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. So they began to celebrate. So right here we get to the good that finally is happening to the prodigal son. He makes a decision, and another change happens in his life. And as Jesus is narrating the story, I'm sure that you were getting this picture. I know I was getting this picture, kind of like what it was looking like. So this young son is just covered in pig slop, just ragged, no money. And then he goes to his father's, but it's a long journey, day after day after day after day. He's walking and he's thinking to himself, man, I hope my father has mercy on me and will at least let me be a servant, maybe. Because in that culture, every Jewish person listening would have thought, oh no, there's zero chance. Because the son basically said, I don't want to say any expletives, but he's like, I'm done. I am gone. And he left. And he's thinking, maybe he'll have mercy. So he's working up, what do I say, what do I say, what do I say, what do I say? And then he sees the father's estate off in the distance. And now the father, let's talk about the father. The father typically wouldn't be out looking in kind of his front yard off what's happening. He's more concerned about what's happening in his estate and everything else. But no, we can deduce that he was looking and waiting and waiting. And then the father sees the son. And he doesn't walk. He runs towards the son. He embraces the son. He puts a ring and a robe and sandals on the son. He reinstates the son to the title, to the family, to the position that he was in before. He did this all to the son. And now I want to actually talk about something. I want to pause and talk about something here that's happening that a lot of times people can skip over. But it has like a lot of theological significance. It's how the son was changed. How the son was changed. Because he was changed. And what I mean by that is he was physically changed, right? He was wearing pig slop clothes, and then those were thrown away, and then what happens? He gets new clothes on, a robe, a ring, and sandals. They all symbolize something different, but basically it symbolizes that he's not a servant, he is a part of the family. He gets new clothes. Here's the question: who changed him? He actually didn't do the changing. He didn't change himself. What are you talking about? That's heresy. No, he didn't do the changing. The Father is the one that did the changing, because the Father is the only one who had the authority to change the Son. The son didn't have the authority. The son wanted to be changed. The son was asking to be changed. The son was changed, but all the son can do was say, here I am, I want back. I'm at your mercy. And on the father's authority, a new robe, a new ring, and a new sandal was put on him. And this has real significance for our lives too. Jesus is saying this because he wants to get at a deeper truth about our journey. Here's a Bible verse that kind of speaks to it. For it is by grace, that you have been saved through faith. And this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. It is by grace. You see, the story of the prodigal son is our story. It's the biblical story. It's the gospel story. That's why it's such a powerful parable. You see, the gospel kind of goes like this. We were with God, living a part of his house, but we said, no, we want to do things our way. So we ran away and we squandered everything. We were at rock bottom. And then Jesus made a way. He came to earth. He died on a cross, paid the penalty for us running away, and he said, I want you back, but you got to make the decision that you want to be back. And when we make the decision that we want to be back, what happens? The Bible, there's so many verses that talk about Jesus is clothing us in righteousness. He's putting new robes on us. We are his now. Talk about new life. And that's for us. You see, the prodigal son went through so many changes in his life, but the only one that brought him life was when he let his father change him. Now, here's the deal. There's going to be a lot of decisions as I'm closing right now, a lot of decisions that you guys are going to make. All of you are going to make tonight, tomorrow, this week, this month. You're going to be flooded with decisions. I don't know where you're at, but that's the reality. You're going to be flooded with them. And some of those decisions are going to be good. And you'll know it. Some of those decisions are going to be not so good. And you'll know it. Some of these decisions are going to be harder. That's why we need to talk to people, pray. Every decision will lead to life change. All of them. And Jesus is saying that through all of these decisions that lead to life change, if you want true, real life that only God can give, you got to let God change you. You got to come to him and say, I want to be made new. I want that new life that only you can live. And that new life isn't just for today, but biblically speaking, for those who follow Jesus, we're going to rise again. That's eternal life. Like, yeah, sign me up for that. That's what he offers us. New life in Jesus. And if you haven't made that decision, I want to talk with you. We have a lot of leaders. Not all of them are wearing the red shirt. That's awesome. But we have some that are. Our leaders want to talk with you if you want to make that decision. And for those of you who have made that decision, every decision that you make after that big decision should be influenced by that. If you're thinking, I don't really actually know if this is right or wrong, does it line up with that decision? Does it line up with what your father would want? You're going to mess up, and that's okay. But be intentional about life change. Now, as I close, I have a couple ways that could help you make different decisions, like different ways that can help you make different decisions real quick. Connect into community. We have a lot of Connect into campus. Go ahead and throw all of them up, and then I'll talk about them. Connect to a local church. Connect into community. We have right now 3 different community groups. Community groups are a time that we meet during the week and just kind of go deeper. Lexi, one of our leaders, she's leading a women's group on Tuesdays at 4. Isaiah is leading a men's group Mondays at 7. And I'm actually kicking off a new one that I'm leading. It's just a co-ed Bible study. We're just going to meet in here, like in one of those back rooms. We're just going to look at the Bible and kind of go deep in it from every Thursday from every Thursday from 8:30 to 9:30. So anyone's invited. We're going to study the Bible. Connect into a campus ministry, that's just an option. There's a ton of great campus ministries out here. CAM is one of them. It's a good way to be reminded about what decisions that we can make that are good. Connect to a local church. There's a lot of awesome local churches. One of them's Blackhawk downtown. We meet every Sunday, 9 and 10:45. It's a multi-generational, multicultural community. But whatever you do, wherever you go after tonight, know that Jesus is highly invested in the types of decisions that you make because Jesus is highly invested in you. You are the most important thing to God. When he thought of the universe, this world, and everything, the top of his creation, you. He's with you, and he is committing all of him to your life change. So be encouraged and go this week knowing that God is with you in life change. Let's pray. So God, thank you that you're not like Jack in the Box, honestly. Thank you that you are always with us, that you always love us, that you are committed to our life change, God. God, I'm going to be honest, there's so many decisions that I've made that I've just messed up on, and the reality is, man, you are, what the prodigal son doesn't show, but what is true is that you're actually in the pig slop with us. You're cleaning us up as we're in it, and you're offering us a new way out, and we thank you for that. And God, in the excitement that this week can bring for a lot of us, and all the important decisions, man, I feel like the old guy talking about important decisions to a younger generation, but I want to shout it from a rooftop because these decisions that people are going to make in this room, in this next week, will have an eternal impact. So be with them, God. Love them. Shepherd them. Show them. God, one thing that we know is you are the God who created life. And if anyone right now is experiencing something that they would say is less than life, I ask that you, the creator of life, create new life in them right now. That this next song that they're singing can be an opportunity to build their life on you where you can do that life work. We love you, Jesus. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.